He's done it! 4! Balotelli! Aguero! Cahill! Cahill! Tim Cahill has done it again! What a goal by Tim Cahill!
Hello everybody and welcome to the Premier League Nightclub podcast. My name is Damon and with me I have Woody. Woody, we are back for the second time in like 2 days, but this time it's for the actual, Reign Supreme podcast, the Nightclub podcast, episode 38.
Mate, don't shake the minis. The minis are good. I love them. Although the mini that we released on Tuesday wasn't that mini, really. It was like, 30 minutes, so it wasn't that small. But
Definitely pushing it.
Back for a massive episode 38, and what a massive episode we've got. We have got big Johnny IREDALE, the young Wolfsburg Australian striker, absolute legend hailing from Sydney, coming on as a guest. And Damo, he's our first pro athlete. I'm freaking buzzing right now.
Mate, he's the next big thing. And we don't want to put too much pressure on the young lad here at the nightclub, but it's safe to say that in years to come, when he looks back at what he's achieved in the game, he'll remember the Premier League Nightclub. I can guarantee it.
Oh, it literally would not matter if he went on to play for Real Madrid, Barca, Man United, City. He would always remember coming on the Premier League Nightclub as his number one footballing
achievement. We got there. All right. But Woody, we've also got a few other things on the agenda. I know, obviously, people are bored. We're a bit bored, and that's why we're releasing the podcast. But the players have been a little bit bored during their time off as well. We're going to have whipping into an on or off side, which we haven't done in quite a while, but there are a few things worth mentioning. And then, believe it or not, there will be a Damo's Dollars.
What? How?
Just you wait and see. Now, for my people, I know, well, the last Damo's Dollars we did actually didn't have a chance of coming off because they didn't play the game. So that multi still stands. If anyone put that on, you make sure they haven't taken your money away, because that's going to come off, whether it be in a few months or next year. It will come off. Don't you worry about that. But
mate, there's no chance Damo Dollars is getting anywhere, and I'm keen to see what we've done with this one, because I reckon it's a bit of drab. It's
gonna be good. It's gonna be very good. But so yeah, Woody, just steering back into what the players have been up to. They've been absolutely pumping the TikToks. I saw a tweet this week saying, "Can we all go back to normal so that I can watch my idols play football and not dance on TikTok?" And I couldn't relate to it anymore. And what caught my eye was there's been a bunch of these players learning new skills. Okay, and it got me thinking, Woody, what have you been up to during your isolation? I haven't even asked you, off mic or on mic.
Yeah, you're not my mate, are you, mate? You're a shit bloke in general. You claim your best mates with Cesc Fabregas, and you just leave me to dry.
Not this again.
Until we hop on the podcast. Anyway, isolation is treating me. Don't know if it's treating me well, but it's treating me pretty boring. I've been playing plenty of FIFA. We're back on the pro clubs scene, which is pretty big for us.
We are.
But in terms of learning new skills, I guess trying to learn how to do yoga. I'm doing yoga at the moment, which is really interesting.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I've copped a few free trials off these apps, and I've tried to do yoga, and I'm not going to lie, my glutes are burning. I thought my forearm was the only muscle that was going to get work during the isolation, but turns out it's full body with yoga. And I'm also learning how to edit videos as well. So Apple just released a few trials of their professional video editing programs. No doubt you would have seen the John IREDALE video that we released on Instagram earlier this week. So that is coming of my new skill. Damo, what about you? Got any new hobbies or anything?
Well, I must say I was very impressed with the video. You sent me a few, work in progress updates, and I was impressed and even more impressed by the end of it. So well done, Woody. It got some good likes on it as well, which I know you were pretty happy about. But
battle axe.
There was, well, in terms of what I've learned, I guess, not much, to be honest with you, Woody. I've been smashing out some Assassin's Creed, which I know you've seen on the Xbox Live, the old tab where you can see what all your mates are doing. I've been online way too much, so But any listeners who play a lot of Xbox, you'll be sure to understand. Bit of online poker. I must admit, poker's nowhere near as enjoyable online as it is in person. In person, you get a bit of banter, just the chips in your hand. It's a lot more fun, but still a bit of online poker. I've actually been looking into starting up a website for the pod. So there's a little something for our listeners. I have been trying. I've been trying to figure out the best way to do it. We've got so many plans, Woody, that I'm trying to sort of incorporate all the tabs to accommodate all the plans we have. But, obviously some plans don't always eventuate. So it's a bit hard to decide how we're going to do it. And, if you've got to set it up a certain way, you've got to commit to certain things. So that's still up in the air. And that's probably a little bit of a while away before that gets released. But, of course, when it does, we'll be make sure to pump in that all over the socials and have a look at our website once it's out. But
to all the listeners, you bloody well watch out for when Damo releases the website, because it's going to be big.
Mate, Damo's Dollars is going to have its own section of the website.
Are you getting your own betting company? I swear.
Well, whenever we get caught up, I mean, they're not doing too well at the moment, considering there's no sport on. But when they can afford to, flirt some money around, I'll be waiting. I'll be there to crumb. Ooh, don't you worry.
Oofed. So, Damo, quickly, if you were to set up a betting company, so Damo's Dollars betting company, it eventuates. It gets there. It gets off the ground, has wheels. Who is going to be the face of Damo's Dollars?
Well, what do you mean? As in, like a professional?
Well, every professional, every betting company has a face, a professional face.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like a player that endorses the product. Who is your one?
Jeez, Damo's Dollars becomes a betting company. All right, well, it still would be me, sort of like Tom Waterhouse. Do you know what I mean? Before he went down the drain. So that's my answer.
Yeah, like Paddy Power. I don't know who Paddy is, but
he must be a rich guy. Anyway, speaking of rich guys, someone over the weekend didn't listen to their own advice, Woody, and it comes back to what players have been doing in their spare time, and some of them aren't dealing with it as well as others. So I reckon we just get straight into Woody's whip.
Damo, mate, shit has made my blood boil when I saw this whole this whole issue unfold. It's my boy Jack Grealish, and I couldn't be more disappointed. The only person I'd be more disappointed for this to happen to would be Johnny Lundstrom or something. You know what I mean? But it's Jack Grealish, the man that we fell in love with his calves, his beautiful bread bun calves. Anyway, during this week, he was caught red-handed after a car accident and clearly off his bonkers on the side of the road, right? The dickhead's gone and crashed his Rangy into two other parked cars, caused significant damage, which he's going to have to fork out. He was so hammered in the picture taken of him that he's wearing mismatching slippers. Seriously, mate, not even my blind 80-year-old grandma does that sort of shit. She knows which shoes to wear. What's more, apparently he's been partying all night with bloody Tony Capaldi, of all people, during England's lockout laws. Mate, Tony Capaldi is a non-EPL player. He's a league player. He's 38, absolute has-been. Hasn't got his name to link to some of the biggest clubs in England for a summer transfer. And honestly now, why the would Manchester United or any other big boy go spend 70, 60, 80 mil on him if he's doing the streets doing this shit? He's supposed to be a leader and a captain of a Premier League club, and he's doing this shit? Come on. He's just trash from Jack Grealish. I can't believe he's gone and done it. And then what's more, he's made himself get caught as well. What's more disappointing is that a few days ago, he was on Twitter preaching to his 300,000 followers that they should be staying home and being safe because of the coronavirus issue, right? Then he goes and blows it all up in his face by doing this. If you're spending 80 mil on someone who's supposed to be a captain material, do you really want them breaking laws like this, like it's nothing and like it's an everyday activity? Bloody hell no. Especially considering this isn't even his first negative spotlight. He's been caught so many times, not so many times, but 2 or 3 instances where he's just been caught red-handed doing just careless stuff that brings his whole career into jeopardy and his reputation as well. Huge red flags, and I've supported him all season here, but huge red flags for anyone that wants to go and fork out something from the checkbook to buy him. I seriously hope it proves him wrong, and the $100,000 quid fine that the Villa board handed down to him is seriously light on, in my opinion. And, oh, jeez, it just boils my blood, Damo, because I don't want to see players like this. He's 24. He's 24. He has so much to gain. And I feel as if he's just put himself so far back. I'm out. Jesus Christ. It's Woody's whip or Woody's frustration. Far out. Red flags everywhere.
I must say, halfway through that whip, I had to double check that he only had 300,000 followers on Twitter. Mate, for a person of his stature, the amount people talk about him and look up to him, he needs to have more followers on social media than that. But I know that's not the point of your whip. I would completely agree with you there, Woody, though. The staying inside is the biggest thing for me. I know drink driving is obviously a horrific criminal offence, but I think just the hypocritical nature of posting a video saying everybody stay inside and save lives, and then you go and do that. It's just incredibly, incredibly immature and something that is going to put a lot of clubs off, as you said, Woody. So, yeah, it's an interesting time for Jack Grealish.
It's just shame from his video that he released as well on both Twitter and Insta, saying apologies. Mate, I understand, like, just the absolute shame that he has to be in the situation to come out and put that out. You know, just to release an apology video, it just shows, like, mate, pull your head in. Come on, you're supposed to be captain of a Premier League club.
What goes through your mind? What goes through your mind? It's
he's supposed to be getting calls up to England for next year, right? And he should have been in the squad this year. He'll be 25 next year, right? And he potentially big money move. Why would you jeopardize everything for shit like this? Like, why? I just don't understand. I have no clue. No clue.
It's going to be the story of the off season during this virus, so we'll keep an eye on that. But Woody, speaking of stories, we've got a few things that we wanted to discuss and have our opinions on. So let's get stuck into on or off side. All right, yeah, Woody, we haven't had this one for a while, but I will kick it off with asking you a question. Something that actually I think may be referring to something that happened not in the past week, but a week earlier, which we forgot to mention last week. But Mike Ashley is the biggest legend in the Premier League, on or offside.
Mate, it's hard to disagree with that one because he's a big legend. Everyone loves him, Mike. I can't see a person that's more loved than Mike Ashley in the Premier League. Steve Wraith loved him. Of course, I'm joking all of this. Absolute offside. Mike Ashley is a dirtbag. He is a dirtbag. And you know what, mate? Come sue me if you don't like what I'm saying to you. Newcastle became the first Premier League club to put staff on furlough, which furlough being being laid off. You know, with the Saudi Arabian takeover talks revived, he's gone and laid off all first-team staff, to be exact. And bloody coincidence, Damo, he's gone and kept Sports Direct open. Isn't that just a complete, juxtaposition on what he's doing?
It's not a good look at all. Not a good look at all. And what's even worse is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he's increased the prices on things like gym equipment, which people are now wanting to buy for their home gyms. I think he's almost increased things by 30 to 40% at times. So, real ordinary actions from an ordinary bloke.
Mate, he's got no heart, that guy. No heart whatsoever. And to be profiteering off something like this, it's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. He's a horrible bloke and he deserves to be kicked out of the Premier League. I hope the Saudis buy him out. I really, really do. Anyway, Damo, I'll move on to my question because I've gone double whammy there. My blood is boiling.
Need some positivity.
Mate, anyway, mate, on or offside, UEFA should be ashamed about the specific decision made a couple of weeks ago regarding the Liverpool Atletico Madrid game.
This one, probably at the time, not many people realised what ramifications it would have. Spain right now are definitely in the top 5 countries affected by the COVID-19 virus. And 2 weeks ago, they let 2,500 Spaniards into the country, and more specifically into Anfield, to watch the game between Atletico and Liverpool. Now, of course, that's 2,500 in the stadium. Woody and I both know that clearly there are more and more Spaniards that travel over just for the build-up of the game. It's a common thing that Europeans do. So let's just say there's 3,000 minimum. 3,000 Spaniards head over to the UK. Within days, there's a mass spread, and now look at what it's come to. Their own Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, tests positive. Now, I know that it might not have a direct relation to certain individuals getting it, such as Prince Charles as well. But how bad does it look now than what it did 2 weeks ago? They, although not copying a lot of criticism for it, at least in the media, they must be looking at that now and thinking, boy, we made a massive mistake. Would you agree with that, Woody?
UEFA have just absolutely taken a Boris Johnson on the competition, to be honest with you. They've sort of just disregarded everything, and I'm surprised they did it. But of course, it was early enough days to sort of say, let's park this for now. And I guess now it's sort of just they're just seeing the after effects, and like we say, Captain Hindsight's an old mate, and Bummery wasn't here in this situation.
For sure. Alrighty, Woody, one for you. Paul Pogba would be an absolute doddle to play against. On or offside?
I want to go to VAR for this one, but I'll go onside, because Graham Souness said this during the week that Paul Pogba would be a doodle to play against, and that he would easily get into his head and shake him during a game. And I'd say if Graham Souness was playing, 100% he would get in his head. So complete onside for him. Probably in Liverpool's greatest ever 11, if we're being real here. And I'd say he probably proves a lot of teams right, and a lot of pundits right, and a lot of fans right as well, in that Pogba's probably mentally weak in some big games, and he does get rattled extremely quickly. I look instantly towards Man City versus Manchester United, where he did score a brace to bring United back and win. But the amount of games that he's been caught out in big games against big six boys, and even some mid-table teams where he's just been mentally rattled, I've sort of lost count, and I think so has the rest of the league as well. He just seems like he comes out, and you never know what to really expect from him, whether he's going to click or whether he's not going to click, whether he's going to do his own thing or where he's going to play as a team. So I think completely on side with what Graham Souness was saying, because if you get in his head, you're proven that he's going to fold one way or another.
Sure.
Damo, I'll kick it off to you. On or offside, Aston Villa will not miss a penalty for the rest of the season for the long-term future.
This one isn't offside, but I do believe you're getting at the ex-Australian international and captain Mile Jedinak joining Aston Villa as an assistant coach. Of course, during his career, he never missed a penalty, and he scored 3 for Australia in World Cups. If it wasn't for him, Australia wouldn't have actually scored a goal during their last World Cup campaign. But however, although the art of penalty taking can be taught, it must be said, Mile's composure and mental strength during his career was just something else. It's a bit like, you see some other players these days probably not have that, mental capacity to take big penalties, but Mile Jedinak, you always thought he was going to score, and he always did. So yeah, but aside from that, it's a great addition for Villa and a great image for Australian football. It's always good to have Australians involved in Premier League.
Damon, sorry, I'm just going to cut you off there, because speaking of Australian footballers, I know we've got one coming on soon, but obviously with everyone being down in isolation and a bit of a lockdown at the moment, we've seen plenty of sports providers, likes of Optus Sport, likes of Fox Sports, providing the viewership with plenty of replays of Australian golden moments. And I just want to get from you, what would be, in our lifetime, your favourite Socceroos moment?
Oof. Mate, I tell you what, I feel like, especially in Australia, everyone can remember where they were and what they were doing during specific moments, because, Let's be honest, we don't have a huge amount. It's probably really only been the last 14 years where we've had heaps and heaps of memories, or 20, I'd say, 20 years. But the one I always watch on YouTube is our actual intro. Timmy Cahill, his second goal against Japan, and of course just before Aloisi scored the third. We won that one 3-1, and I can tell you, it was 2006, which means I would have been 9 years old, and my parents made me go to bed before the game, before that all happened.
Yeah.
Before that all happened, and I woke up to my dad running around the house like I'd never seen him before. He's pretty passionate about his sport, but I'd never seen him like that before. And so I woke up and I actually saw the Aloisi goal live, but I had to watch the Timmy Cahill goals on replay. But yeah, it's the one I always remember, just because it was probably that World Cup for our age group as well, Woody, was the one that made us really, really understand the, how massive the round ball game is. But yeah, what about you, Woody? What one do you love?
Oh, mate, honestly, I reckon I've got too many to sort of recollect. And like you said, you remember exactly where you were when you see these iconic moments. First one, I'll probably have to go with probably that Josh Kennedy goal versus Iraq that sent us to the World Cup.
Oh, it's a Rio.
It was amazing. It was. I just remember sitting there on the couch and my dad telling me how crap he thought Bresciano was, and then turns out Bresciano provided this perler of an assist, put Josh Kennedy on a platter to header at home. And I just remember Foz in the background. Oh, what a goal! Just going nuts as the Foz does when he commentates. But mate, you cannot beat that Tim Cahill worldie versus the Netherlands in the World Cup in 2014.
Oh, that's an unbelievable strike.
Sorry, that was the Foz went nuts on that one. But I remember sitting there on the couch and just seeing the ball come in. The commentators were talking about something.
Because Robin had just scored. It was off kickoff pretty much.
Yeah, and Robin, I think it was in the 20th minute, I think Robin scored. And then that ball, absolute floater, came into Tim Cahill at the top of the box. It was like almost a half pitch pass. And then it just landed. I remember the commentators talking about something irrelevant. And then as soon as the ball started to drop to Cahill, they're like, "Whoa!" And then he just hit it, and it was just an unbelievable strike. Mate, just nothing you will ever forget. And you just remember sitting on the couch. You remember exactly where you were. It was back in our old house actually, so it brings back a bit of memes. But yeah, you just remember exactly where you were when you have these sort of moments. Jeez, it was special to witness that live, actually. Special.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Australia probably growing some new crop again, because obviously that golden generation sort of dwindled away now, and we're probably not the side we were back in 2006 and 2010 and 14, but there are certain men that have the ability to change the fortune of Australian football, and I believe, Woody, we are about to get him on. So do you want to give him the introduction that he deserves?
Oh, absolutely. I would love, and I feel so privileged to do this. We have got the big John IREDALE coming on. He's going to be our first guest on our Aussies Uncovered series, where we bring our viewership the best young Aussie talent around the globe. And I tell you what, Damo, his goal-scoring record speaks for itself. So he's not in the Premier League yet, but one day we have no doubt he'll get there. He has been playing at Sydney, and then he moved to the Netherlands, and now he's at VfL Wolfsburg in Germany. He's the big man himself, John IREDALE. We know he's going to be special, one of the best young Australian talents that burst onto the scene, and now he's currently in the Ollie Roos squad, trying hard to lock down a spot for that 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Here he is, John IREDALE on the line. How you going, mate?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Yes. Yeah, not too bad. It feels a bit weird being in isolation. I think, like Damo said just before off air, this is our first podcast doing it in isolation. So we're not actually together for the first time in 3.5, 4 months, which is a bit weird. So, but I guess we'll just take it how it goes.
Well, I first of all, I must say this is our first time interviewing a proper athlete. So I'm incredibly nervous. I'm just going to put it out there. So if I stumble my words more than usual, you know why. John, I'd just like to open up by asking you, obviously, the whole world is going through something in common right now, and that's the COVID-19 virus. As an athlete, like just straight off the bat, how has it changed your lifestyle in the past, or I'll say month, but could have been a couple of weeks, could have been even more?
It's quite difficult because you get in such a routine of training and all this, and then especially for me, I'm coming back from a big injury now, and I was at a point where I could play from this week on. And with this, with the COVID-19 situation that's happening through the world, it's really unbelievable at the moment. And it just, I don't know, I don't know how to describe it so much, but it impacts you, and it can get to some players mentally, I think, because it's a big part of the season coming towards the end of the year, and there's so much uncertainty around.
Yeah.
Everyone can plan, we're going to come back and train in 2 weeks, but then you get to that 2 weeks time and there's the situation is still not improving. So really, you just have to do as much as you can at home to keep fit and to be ready when the season starts again.
So what sort of stuff are you doing at home? Because obviously you would have a pretty serious regime when you're playing at the club and being there in person. And obviously you've just come off a huge injury as well. So what sort of stuff do you have to do at home? And do you get to the club at all? Is it like any isolation sort of preparation, or is it just all basically at home?
I know for my team, we have a running program that we can do, not can do, that we must do. And we also do Skype power trainings online. So the trainer does the exercises, and we do it all with body weight and with power bands. Nice. But actually, also for me, I'm really lucky that because it's a crucial time for me in my rehab, I get to go in the mornings into the club, and I work one-on-one with our strength trainer to get me fit and to be able to play again when the team comes back into training. So I get to spend an hour on the pitch with him each morning. So for me, it's quite a good and lucky for me to be able to do that, and I'm really grateful that I can do this.
Would you say, I know no one can prepare for such an event like this, but obviously we're going to get stuck into your injury past a little bit, but would you say you've prepared a little bit for what it's like to have to be away from the main playing group and have to go through things you don't necessarily want to?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said it a little bit to some teammates. It's kind of like everyone is experiencing being injured and having to stay at home.
Yeah.
I've just gone through that, and now everyone else is having to realize how much it actually sucks to be away from the team and playing football.
So, like, mentally, sort of, how do you get through an injury? Because we see so many huge players and huge stars in the world go through injuries similar to yours. And, like, just from behind the scenes sort of aspect, how do you get through being away for such a huge amount of playing time?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. So for my injury, I broke a bone in my foot and had to have surgery on it. And I actually did this in 2018, in November 2018, and then I redid the same injury in November 2019. And the first time I did it, it was very difficult. I've never been injured longer than maybe 3 weeks. So to get the news is very, very tough mentally. But honestly, I had a very good support system around me. I had some really close friends that could still keep me company, keep my mind off the fact that I can't play football, and also having my family right next to me to help me was very crucial to me. And I kind of looked at it as a blessing in disguise. I was able to work on so many off-the-field things in this time that I could not necessarily do while I was playing. So I just tried to make the most of that.
Nice. Plenty of FIFA, or?
Honestly, I'm not so good at FIFA, so I was more into Fortnite.
Oh, of course.
Fair enough, mate. Join the club. I'm pretty sure.
I'm just steering back a little bit, sort of where it all started. I was watching an interview with yourself from maybe about 12 months ago now, and you spoke about how you have fond memories of kicking the ball around just at your local club with your cousins and the rest of your family. You even said to us in the messages initiating this interview that you're a big Man United fan and you watched games with your grandfather and your father. Where did the love for football start? Was it all family based, or was there any other kids at school? How did you just fall in love with the round ball game?
Well, of course, my whole family was involved in football. So it was always going to be starting off playing football when I was young. I also played a couple of other sports. I played baseball because my dad also played when he was younger. Mm-hmm. But I just love football. I don't know. My mum told me stories about how I was sleeping with a football when I was a baby, Just it was always around, and I just loved it so much. it's never felt like I've had to do it. It's always been I want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, I guess spurring on for that as well. So how did you fall in love with Manchester United as well?
Yeah. Also, it started off with my grandfather and my father being big supporters. I don't necessarily remember a specific time when I was younger. I just remember seeing lots of photos of me wearing the Manchester United jersey when I was a little boy, and it's just I used to get up in the middle of the night with my dad to watch the Premier League games. Because I know it's tough back in Australia to watch these games in the middle of the night.
Mate, it's so rough. It's so rough.
It was a big positive when I moved to Europe. It made it so much easier to watch these games. It was just in the
So you went to your first game, I believe it was Everton versus Manchester United, and there was a 1-1 draw. How'd you find the atmosphere at Old Trafford?
It was honestly, it was not such an exciting game, but still the atmosphere and the fans made it enjoyable to watch. I think at some stages my eyes were fixed on watching the stadium, and outside the stadium there's so many people, and it's really a big difference when you watch an A-League game to watching such a big game in Manchester.
For sure. You obviously grew up in Australia, watched Premier League games, and then you went to the Netherlands and played in the Eredivisie there. And then now you're at Wolfsburg. Just, I'm guessing the answer you could give could go for hours if you wanted to, but just roughly or vaguely, how does it all differ from Australian football to Dutch football to German football and even watching English football?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. For me personally, along my journey so far, it's just you can take away different aspects of the game and you can learn different things at each stage. In Australia, I was a lot younger then, and I was just learning as much as I could of my coaches. I had you might know David Grealish.
Yep.
He was our assistant coach at the youth team at Sydney FC, and to have him as the next Socceroo striker, teaching me all that he's learned was very vital at that time, and I still use everything that he's taught me now. But I found that in Australia, at Sydney, we worked a lot on getting the team to work together well. That was a very big thing for us. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed when I moved to the Netherlands, at the stage that I was at, it was a lot about the individual development there. It was about getting the players ready to move to the first team or to get sold or something like this. We didn't necessarily play as well as a team, but the players were improving at a significantly higher rate, I think, than they would be in Australia.
Okay.
And then when I moved to Germany, it was kind of like both of them combined together. I'm playing in the second team here in Wolfsburg at the moment, and we are pushing for promotion into the third league of Germany. So, of course, you have very high quality players around you, and it is important to play well as a team as well. But I've also found, just to add on to that, it's very physical in Germany compared to both Australia and the Netherlands.
And just I guess looking at your goal scoring records for both Wolfsburg and in the Netherlands as well, you have obviously really impressive records that justifies where you are now. But I guess looking, where you are and you're only 5 points off the top with Wolfsburg and closing in on promotion as well. Where do you envision your next step for your career to be? Is it to stay in Germany, or is it just to look for a bigger club, a bigger move? What's sort of your vision for your football career?
It's hard to say really in football because so many things can change so quickly. Personally, for me, it's hard coming off this injury. For next season, I would want to be pushing with the first team here in Wolfsburg. Of course, this is my main priority. If not, or at the end of the next season, I'd be wanting to go to a first team somewhere in Europe. That's a very important thing for me, is to now get into the first team environment more than I am. But of course, in years to come, I've always had the goal to end and play for Manchester United.
Of course. But, do you get a lot of exposure to the first team at Wolfsburg, like whether it be like training sessions or just team meetings, stuff like that?
You do. Like I've had, unfortunately for me, it hasn't worked out. Like I've gone with national team camps with Australia, and this is when some of my teammates get the opportunity to go with the first team.
Of course, yep.
And then I got injured, and I didn't end up going with them on their preseason or the January preseason camp with them. So it's been a bit of a delay with myself, but I know that starting into the next season, I'll have plenty of opportunities to show them what I have.
Of course. Do you think you'd ever like? I look at someone like Kevin Mbabu, who's obviously had got experience at Newcastle United in England. Would you ever, have you ever asked him about what it's like over there, or is that just something that hasn't really come up yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't got to talk to these players yet much. But I did get to have some small conversations like that in my old club in the Netherlands.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
So, like looking at obviously the COVID-19 situation, and the Olyroos qualified for the Tokyo Olympics as well. Now it's probably going to be pushed back to 2021. Where do you see yourself come 2021 and yourself in the Olyroos squad?
I will always work as hard as possible to be in these type of squads, because it's, especially with the Olympics, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I was cheering the boys on as they qualified, and I was super proud of their efforts and what they have achieved. I will. It was going to be tough for me, being honest, to get fully fit and to be able to have the best chance to go this year. But I think now that the Olympics will be in 2021, I have more than enough time to be ready. And I know that if I am playing and scoring goals, I have the best opportunity to be in the squad, and I'll do everything I can to be there.
Would you say there's? Sorry. Woody. I was just going to say, you've sort of said that, obviously not ideal circumstances, but in a way, the Olympics being pushed back helps you personally. Is that conversations that players have with each other as well? Is it like, lucky that, we've been pushed back because I wasn't going to be ready for, a big game coming up in, say, a month's time or whatever that might be? Or is everyone just missing football in general?
I'm sure it's more that we're just missing football in general. Sometimes it comes up like, it helps. I get to play more games and all this type of things, but it's not something that we really like text each other or call each other straight away and talk about that stuff.
Fair.
Just sort of looking at, like you mentioned before, fighting for your place in the Olyroos squad. Like, sort of, what's the dynamic in a national team squad where you have so many players coming from different backgrounds and different teams around the globe, and they come to make, one uniform team? Is the competition for places harder, or do you reckon it's similar compared to that training for club compared to training for country?
It's a difficult one. I mean, you always have select players, really, that in a club you have always the signed players, and that's who you need to fight between for positions. With the national team, you can have players that come out of nowhere because they've found their form, or they've signed for a club that's giving them opportunity. So really, you just have to be on top of your game every day, every month, every time the national team comes around. But like for example, Toure came in late with the national team. It was his first camp just before the Olympic qualifiers, and then he got the number 9 jersey in the tournament, and he had a great tournament. It's just you have to be ready yourself to give yourself the best possible chance to be playing.
Is that a reason why you went to Germany? Obviously, Australia has a decent history when it comes to players going to Germany and playing in the Bundesliga. Is that why you chose Germany as your next move?
Well, for me, I was coming off the injury, as you know, at the end of the
Yep.
season. So I only played, unfortunately, about five or six games in the season prior to this one. So it was difficult to find the club straight away. So we were searching around Europe, and of course Germany has um, they have really strong leagues here. And this was a priority to look into Germany, and the move with Wolfsburg just seemed a bit surreal at the time. It just worked out perfectly, and I was more than happy to move here, and I'm glad that I have made this decision.
Just touching on transfers in general, how have you found relocating overseas? And then also, just a second sort of part to that question, what sort of role does, like, for example, your manager or your family play in the teams that you choose to go play for?
Well, my family, just to start with them, they support me with whatever decision I'm making. They don't really want to say, hey, you have to move here or you have to do this. They're always there and want the best for me. And then really, my agent, he's helped me out a lot, and he really has some good contacts in Europe, and he is aware of where the better places I should be looking at are, and I'm more than happy, and I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had in both the Netherlands and now in Germany. And then with relocating, especially the first time when I just turned 18 to the Netherlands, it was difficult at the start, but my family did move with me to the Netherlands, and this was huge for me because I don't think that it would have gone as well as it did if they hadn't done that. We talked with a lot of people in Australia about about the situation of young players moving overseas, and the most important thing they said is how hard it is when you first move over. So my family planned to come for the first year, but they loved it so much in the Netherlands that they're still living there now. So even at this time, when I moved to Germany, I'm now living on my own, but they're still only a 4-hour drive away, just across the border.
You sort of already answered this question, but I was just going to ask, what advice would you give for any young Australian player, not necessarily just looking to go overseas, but maybe just trying to break into the A-League? I'm talking, 14, 15, 16-year-olds that are really, looking to increase their development in the next 3 to 4 years. What advice would you give them?
Of course, the most important one is to work hard. Honestly, a quote that I live by is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So really at that age, you're just loving playing and you're doing everything you can to move to the next level. It does require sacrifices, I must say that as well. I sacrificed a lot when I was in that age bracket. You need to have your focus on both the football and school, and you have to give up some other activities that might not necessarily be so important for your football career. But also just love the game, and to try and take some advice of each coach that you have. If it's a lot of advice or just something small that can improve your game, that'll be a very, very important thing moving forward.
Beautiful. And just, I guess, looking back at the differences between Germany and the Netherlands, obviously they're very different countries. Food-wise, which one do you prefer? Like a pork knuckle or traditional Dutch meals?
Honestly, I really enjoy the Dutch food. Of course, the German food is really nice as well, as I've just been beginning to find out. But after living in the Netherlands for 2 years, at the moment, I'm still loving the Dutch food more.
Nice.
And I think this is sort of the next part of our questionnaire for our special guest. It's something we do for every guest, and it's the quirky questions segment. And we'll start off with the one that Woody particularly likes everybody to answer, so we can't give this one a miss. And that is, can you name your ideal Premier League five-a-side team? And there has to be a goalkeeper in there.
Okay. Of current players?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I would have the Gea in goals
Nice.
Straight into it.
and Pogba in my midfield. Okay.
All right.
Nice. Bit of attitude. Like it.
Bit of money.
Yeah. I think I would also go with Gabriel Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Like it.
He's got skill and speed, and he can find the back of the net. Okay. And I'd probably go with Zaha as well.
Oh, yes. I think we had another guest pick Zaha as well. He's a popular choice.
Yeah, can imagine.
And just think, need one more defender.
Yeah. This is a difficult one. Yeah, maybe I'll go with Wan Bissaka.
Nice.
Beast in Manchester United's back line at the moment.
Man, I reckon you're the first guest that hasn't gone with like an out and out centre back as the defender. So I like it. Bit of versatility in the back, bit of pace.
Yeah, and having Pogba and Bissaka there as well, there's enough defence, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
mate,
that is true.
That'd be an absolute saucy combination at the back. I'd be afraid to come up against that one. Hopefully in a few years we'll be picking you in our Premier League five-a-side team.
Yeah, that'll be
but moving on, if you could have a dinner with one Premier League player, who would it be and why?
Okay. Never thought about this one, but if it was a few years ago, I would have said Rooney for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But now, maybe I would go with Aguero.
Aguero.
Yeah, Aguero. I'd love to get into his knowledge of so many years at the top level and scoring so many goals for Manchester City. I think this would be
just before we I guess move on to the next question as well. Something that we didn't ask is how often as a kid did you try and emulate stuff that you saw on TV, like a goal that you saw, or maybe you were watching a United game and you saw Rooney do something crazy or RVP do something crazy. How many times did you go out and try and practice that at training, or in the backyard or something like that?
Quite a lot, actually. I used to go with some really good friends every Friday afternoon to the park, and this is where we'd bring out our inner RVPs and Roonies and all this. But also, when I was growing up, I tried to find a striker that was similar to the way I played, and just to watch him each game. And for most of the time, it was either Harry Kane or Diego Costa back in his day, and Luis Suarez, the three strikers. I would just watch them over and over to try and pick up.
Have you got a temper like Luis Suarez or like Diego Costa?
No. This is the thing that I'm lacking a little bit, actually. But,
Would you headbutt anyone if it came to it on the field?
No. I wouldn't.
Quality journalism from Woody there. All right, last one to wrap it up is this one. We've never actually asked this one before, so if we cross a line, please say something. But who is the most famous person you've got in your phone contacts? And I'm guessing you'd have some pretty big names.
Well, of course, I have Rene Mulstein from Manchester United's assistant coaching with Sir Alex Ferguson. He's now the assistant coach of the Socceroos.
Yes.
But players, I have Marco Rojas. I played with him in the Netherlands.
Oh, yep.
And then I just
played for Victory.
I bought from the Socceroos, so this would be it for me.
No, I was happy to take your first answer with the assistant coach. That was good to go for me. And Rojas was just as good. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Woody, are you happy with that?
Just one last question, Johnny. We actually have a 5-a-side futsal tournament that runs on Friday nights. If you ever come back to Australia, would you be willing to fill in for us?
In Melbourne?
Yeah, if you ever get to Melbourne.
Yeah, I think if I get to Melbourne, then I could do that on a Friday night.
Sweet.
Winner. Yes. That's the best thing to come out of this interview. I'm so keen. I'll pay for your flight.
Alrighty. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the interview. Believe you got to get to training, of course, soon, John. So we don't want to keep you for too long. Yeah, Woody, have you got anything else to add? I'm still a bit starstruck, to be honest.
Nah, not at all. Actually, really. We not to lie, John. We were actually really nervous to speak to you because you're the first pro athlete that we've spoken to, and again, thank you so much for coming on. It's a huge honor for us to have you, and we wish you all the best with your career, and hopefully we can chat to you again sometime in the future.
No, it was my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sweet. Thank you.
All right. I wish you guys all the best. Stay safe.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Boy, Woody, I mean, I tell you what, we've had some pretty good interviews on this pod. Obviously, it's the number one interview show, in the podcast world. But for John IREDALE to come on and give us those insights, it was pretty spectacular. And I'm going to be honest, I'm still shaking. I'm still shaking about how nervous I was.
Yeah, I think, mate, I was absolutely stoked in that. He's the first player of our Aussies Uncovered segment or series that I guess we're bringing in. And Damo, that's all about picking up young Aussies and young Aussie talent around the world that, we want to sort of showcase, and we want to show our viewership, who we have flying the Australian flag around the world in terms of young talent as well. And then we look at the likes of Ollie Roos. John, obviously part of the Ollie Roos squad as well, but he's playing his trade in Germany at the moment. And, there are plenty of Aussies around the world that are in a similar situation to Johnny, in that, they've moved away from home overseas to try and make it in the big leagues as well. And we have full confidence that all these young Aussies are going to make it because they're from good breed, good crop. And we want to get their story on, and we want to give them a bit more exposure and make the world see that, Australia got some unreal talent coming through the ranks.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always worth noting that down here in Australia, our A-League stars get a decent amount of exposure in terms of, popularity, putting names to faces, all that sort of stuff. They are, some of them, household names. But for those who take the risk, the big risk of going overseas and, trying to apply their trade, as you said, Woody, into perhaps a higher standard of competition, it is a big risk, and they have to leave their families in some cases. John, of course, recently left his, but was lucky enough to have him follow to the Netherlands. It's good that I think it's good, at least we think it's good, that we're giving these guys exposure and almost a little bit of a wave hello to say, yep, down here in Australia, we know who you are and we're still thinking of you and giving you all our support.
Yeah, bloody oath. And as well, I think it's worth saying that hopefully when Johnny listens back to this, he'll realise that he's playing and he's living our dream as well, to go play in Europe and to be part of these big clubs. These Aussie players aren't, they're playing with our dreams as well, because we would love to be in their position. And, all credit to these guys. They put in the sacrifice, put in the hard work, and geez, we still look up to these guys and say, hey, we love to see you play. We want to see you grow. We want to see you absolutely make it, because, we want that, and we want that for Australian players, and we get around that as well. So, gee, he's living the dream where he is, and hopefully he'll get to where he wants to get to, and hopefully he's flying the flag, number 10 Manchester United jersey one day, and he'll look back and go, Premier League Nightclub, bang, the winners. That was biggest achievement ever.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Damo, I'm a bit nervous for this one.
Yep.
You've spurted at the start of this pod that you wanna stick a Damo's Dollars segment in. Now I'm a bit confused because there's very scarce, options to bet on so far. So I'd love to see what the hell you've put together. So do you want to take it away?
Alrighty, now in the nightclub mini we had earlier in the week, you might have heard me mispronunciate a few names and a few players and just a few words in general. But what you're about to listen to is nothing you've ever heard before. It is going to be terrible. It is going to be the most horrifically pronounced segment probably in podcast history. Now,
You're a butcher, mate. You're a butcher.
yeah, you might as well call me the butcher for this segment because it is time for Damo's Dollars.
Show me the money.
All right, Woodra, you still don't understand what on earth I'm about to do. But first up, we are going to head into the Nicaraguan Under-20 League. And it's the first game between Dirian Gen Under-20 versus CD Walter Ferretti. Now, Walter Ferretti sounds like a guy that you do not want to give $20 to because you ain't getting it back. Okay? So I figured, with that in mind, he's a scary bloke. The opposition won't like it. So I reckon at $1.40, there's value. I like it. $1.40. Heading over.
Can I just say, Walter Ferretti sounds like the Italian bloke on the corner you'd buy your shoes from, mate.
Next up, we're heading to the Belarusian League. Now, this one's been actually got a little bit of publicity because it's probably one of the most, or the only professional football league still playing. So, thought, can't miss this. I want a piece of this. Let's have a look at their odds. And we've found Vitebsk versus FC Smolovinci STI. Yes, that's right, STI. Well, we reckon it's a tight match between these two, so I'm going to call it a draw at 288. Next up, Dynamo Minsk. I reckon they're going to get the win over the Torpedo Belaz. Torpedo, strong name, but I like the look of Minsk. I like it. $1.91, there's value there. Now, this is where it gets real saucy. Unfortunately, the specific betting company that I was looking at don't offer weather odds after 24 hours. But you know what I reckon that's because of? Because they're scared that Damo's Dollars and the followers are going to steal their money. Because I am telling you, at $1.90, whatever the line is, at 11 a.m. Saturday in Melbourne, you take it. Put your money on it. Go higher. Go higher than the line at 11 a.m. on Saturday. So probably about middle of Friday afternoon. If you've finished up your weekly working from home duties, get your phone out, put your money above the line at 11 a.m. Saturday weather in Melbourne. Lock it in. So put it in perspective. Unfortunately, this can't be put in a multi because it crosses over in terms of weather and football. But if you chuck $20 on and just keep rolling with it, you'll end up with $292 at the end of the fourth leg. Guaranteed, we are home with this multi. I'm telling you. I am telling you. And obviously, as I mentioned at the start of the pod, we've still got that open multi from a couple of weeks ago in the Premier League. And obviously, that's going to come home. So once everyone's out of isolation, you're going to have money to spend. So put this on. Lock it in. Especially if you've been laid off. If you've been laid off, do it.
If you've been laid off, don't stick a 20, stick 100 on it, mate.
Yeah.
Damo, I like your areas, mate. I'm impressed with this one. You pulled it out of your ass. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you pronounced Nicaraguan under-20s Nicaragua, so you screwed that up a little bit. But I do agree. The weather bet is really, really a good bet because
here in Melbourne, the sun is still hot. The sun is still
exactly.
hot.
We call Saturdays saucepan Saturdays because no matter what, it heats up. And no matter what, it's heating up. So I think you've done well with your bet. And I'm 100% going to collect my $292 when this weather is done come 11 a.m. Saturday. Gee whiz, Damo, we're going to have a lot of money to put into the podcast once all your bets come off, don't we?
Obviously, man. I think we're looking at about $500 return with all the money we've put on once these bets conclude. So I'm keen for that. But until then, Woody, I reckon this one is wrapped up. If they want to hit us up on the socials, where can they find us?
You can find us on Insta at Premier League Nightclub. And Damo, where can you find us on the Twitter?
You can find us on the Twitter at PL Nightclub. Also, search us on Facebook if you're a Facebook type of guy. And also, make sure to subscribe, follow, leave a review, wherever you listen to the pod. It helps us a heap. And to be honest with you, makes us feel good inside when we know people are engaging with it. And also engage with us on the socials, of course. If you message us, if you have an opinion on something, there is a 99% chance we will talk about it and mention you on the pod. So, if there's something on your mind that you want us to talk about or something on your mind that you're passionate about, let us know and we will be your voice and we will give you a voice. So, Woody, are we happy to wrap this one up now?
Mate, we're completely happy to wrap it up. And for what it's worth, Damo, if you're at home bored and you're missing a Saturday night hitting the clubs in Melbourne or wherever you're situated, in England, in Italy, you got 4 hours up your sleeve or 6 hours up your sleeve, go binge 6 or 7 episodes of the Premier League Nightclub. It's just as good, if not better. Seriously.
Mate, 100%. 100%. I mean, even if you wanted to, just keep replaying the winners and losers sounds through your speakers.
Oh, 100%.
In fact, worst case scenario. Plus, you get a bit of football content either side of it. Can't go wrong. Alrighty, Woody. I'm out of here. It's late. It's been a big day. I'll see you next week for a Nightclub Mini episode 3, which we don't know what it'll be about, but make sure it'll be all over those socials.
All right, Damo. Thank you very much. Guys, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you for booking out the Premier League Nightclub. See you next week. Episode Mini, Ep 3. See ya.
See ya.